Alright guys, good morning. So this video is the continuation for chapter 8 agriculture, since in the first video I wasn't able to include illustration 2. And let's discuss the problem for illustration 2. This is all about due to price change and due to physical change. So basically, since we are talking about biological assets, so there will always be changes in terms as to the prices and as to the physical change. So for the first illustration, so on January 1 of the current year, entity A has a has 5 2-year-old breeding stocks with a total carrying amount of 25,000 pesos. So again, 2-year-old breeding stocks and 5 of it. So basically 25,000 divided by 5. So basically we do have a carrying amount each breeding stock of 5,000. And we have the following transactions that occurred during the period. So on July 1 of the current year, 10 breeding stocks were born. So the fair value less cost to sell on this date is 2,000 each. Alright. And on July 1, on the same date, a 2-year-old breeding stocks were purchased. So amounting to 5,100 each, equal to the fair value less cost to sell on this date. So you have to take note of the date, and especially the carrying amount per breeding stock or per item. And lastly, on December 31 of the current year, 3 breeding stocks were born. The fair value less cost to sell on this date is 2,100 each. So those are the transactions that occurred during the period. And in terms of the fair value less cost to sell on the end of the current year, we do have the following data from newborn to 3 years old. Now we have the requirements. Compute for the change in fair value less cost to sell due to price change and due to physical change. So we have our solution in the page 212. So I would like to explain to you the formula in getting this one. So first is you have to identify the asset group that's in the first column. And in terms of getting the changes in the fair value less cost to sell due to price change or either due to physical change, you have to let's talk about due to price change. So we have to get the fair value less cost to sell end. So that's the end carrying amount for the current year, less the fair value less cost to sell for the beginning. So let's start. So asset group from beginning. So since we're talking about price change, we are not talking about changes as to the physical change. So that's why, as you have noticed, from beginning to born on December 31, we are talking about 2 years to 2 years. So because we are not talking about changes as to the physical, it's just the price changes. So that's why from beginning 2 years to 2 years. So we will compare the fair value less cost to sell for those in this asset group that is having a 2 years existence. So let's go back to the previous page. All right, so where can we get that one, the data? So it was mentioned in the upper part or the beginning of the problem that we have a 5 2-year-old breeding stocks, a total carrying amount of 25,000, and per individual that's 5,000. So basically that is our beginning carrying amount. So that's why we got 5,000. 25,000 divided by 5 breeding stock. So where did we get the 5,200? So in this illustration, it was mentioned as well that on December 31 of the current year, we do have the fair value less cost to sell. So it's 2 years old. So we have to look for the 2 years old as well because we are talking about price change, not on the physical change again. So the 2 years old here is 5,200. That's why we got 5,200 here less 5,000 multiplied by the number of breeding stocks. And again, we have 5 breeding stocks for this asset group. Again, this is page 212, just to make sure that you would be able to follow my discussion. So 5,200 less 5,000 multiplied by the number of breeding stocks. So we got change in fair value less cost to sell due to price change for the first asset group. That is a total of 1,000. So let's proceed to those born on July 1. So born on July 1, so it was mentioned here that on July 1, 10 breeding stocks were born. So the fair value less cost to sell on this date is 2,000. So that's why we put it here 2,000 in the right part. And in the data provided on December 31 for the newborn, we got 2,100. So that's why we got 2,100 less 2,000 multiplied by the number of breeding stocks. So we got as well the change in fair value less cost to sell due to price change is 1,000. Okay, so let's proceed to the next asset group. So those that are purchased on July 1. So we purchased on July 1 at two-year-old breeding stocks. So we purchased it with a carrying amount of 5,100. So we put 5,100 in the right part. And for the date on December 30 of the current year, the 2 years old is 5,200. So that's why we got 5,200 less 5,100 multiplied by the number of breeding stock times 2. So we got 200 pesos. So the last asset group is born on December 31. Okay, so born on December 31. So it was mentioned here that on December 31, letter C, 3 breeding stocks were born. The fair value less cost to sell on this date is 2,100 each. And it was stated as well on December 31 in the data provided, additional data. The newborn is 2,100. So we have the same fair value less cost to sell. So basically there's no price change for the newborn. So that's why we got 0 here. So a total change in fair value less cost to sell due to price change is 2,200. So again, if we are computing for the due to price change, we will compare the fair value less cost to sell end date compared with the fair value less cost to sell fair value less cost to sell and age beginning, and fair value less cost to sell beginning, age beginning, then multiplied by the quantity. So we are not talking about changes as to the physical. We are talking about the prices. So that's why we are using the same data. So just to reiterate, just like in the first one, we got 5,000 for the 5 breeding stock with a 2-year-old. So we will just compare as well the price for the 2-year-old at the end of the year. So 2-year-old to 2-year-old, so we got 5,200. That's why we have a difference of 200 multiplied by 5, and we got 1,000. So basically, that's how we are going to be computing fair value less cost to sell due to price change. So let's proceed to due to physical change. So basically, this is just the same. The concept for this one is the same. What's the difference for this one is we will definitely base it on the changes of the physical. For example, we purchase a breeding stock start of the year January. So basically at the end of the year, we will it age. So basically if it's 2-year-old at January 1, so at the end of the year, it will become a 3-year-old breeding stock. So that's why if you take a look in the asset group column, we have 3 years, 2 years, because we changed because of the physical evolution of our biological assets. So let's start. So from beginning, so 3 years, 2 years old. The 2 years old, we have 5,200. Let's check the 2 years old, 5,200. So we have here the 5,200. And since it changes, so we will use the 5,700. Clear? So 5,200 for the 2 years old, then 5,700. We have the difference of 500 multiplied by the number of the breeding stock. For the born on July, so basically it was born on July. So at the end of the year, it aged for 6 months or 0.5 years. So basically, we will compute the newborn 2,100 versus the 0.5-year-old. So that's why 2,150 less 2,100 multiplied by the number of quantity. For purchase on July, we purchased a breeding stock on July that's 2-year-old as well. So basically, it will age by the end of the year 2.5 years. So purchase on July 1, sorry. Purchase on July 1, that's 2 years. And we will compare it with the 3 years old. No, it should be 2.5. It should be 2.5 since when we purchase it on July, it's just 2 years old. So basically from July to December, we can add zero point 0.5. So there is a correction for that one. So we will be using 2.5. So that's 5,000. No, the figures here is correct. Just the note here. Instead of 3 years old, purchase in July, instead of 3 years, that's 2.5 years compared to 2 years. But the 5,400 is correct. It's just a typo error. So 5,400 because that's 2.5 years compared with the 2 years old of 5,200. We got 200 multiplied by 2. That's why 400. For born on December, basically there's no, because it was born on December 31 and we will compute as well December 31. So there's no physical change. So that's why we got 0. And fair value less cost to sell on newborn on July 1. So again, we have fair value less cost to sell of newborn at the date of birth. So that's why we have to add that one. 2,000 times 10. It's still included. And fair value less cost to sell of the newborn on December 31, that is 2,100 times 3. So that is why we got 20,000 and 6,300 respectively. So a total of 29,700 change in fair value less cost to sell due to physical change. Again, the formula here is provided as well in this page 212. So we will add the fair value less cost to sell of newborn at the date of birth. So take note, if we're gonna be computing due to physical change after considering the physical change of the asset group per asset group, we will add lastly the fair value less cost to sell of the newborn at the date of birth. So that's why on July 1, there were 10 breeding stocks were born at the amounting to 2,000. That's why we added. And also, 3 breeding stocks were born on December 31, amounting to 2,100 times 3. That's why we got 6,300. Okay, so basically, that's the end of the discussion for Chapter 8. So, just check on this video, guys, for you to be able to be guided on how to compute fair value less cost to sell due to price change and due to physical change. So I'll be creating next video for Chapter 9, that is for investment property. Thank you, guys.